Welcome back on the AM show, this holiday installment of the show. Now, in the wake of President Akufo-Addo's signing of the Affirmative Action Bill, or that act into law, we sit with former Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, I'm talking about Otiko Djaba, to actually discuss the impact, what we can expect of this landmark legislation. Of course, we know she's passionate about gender equality and other related matters. A very good morning to you, madam.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining me in the studio today.
Good morning to your viewers, and to congratulate them on the commemoration of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, our iconic leader, his birthday. That's why I'm in white. It's not only that, we are celebrating his birthday, but reflecting on the legacy that he left for us.
Right.
And part of that legacy is independence, and the independence of women as well. Unfortunately, that has been left out until now.
Right.
So in celebration of the president's assent as well, on this auspicious day has made me really joyous. I am so happy. And when you are happy, you wear white.
It's reflective in what you're wearing.
Yeah.
We're also happy to have you. I think it's your first time in our studio, this new studio here, is it?
Yeah, it's very nice.
Thank you.
You've modernized it.
And I know for some members of my crew too, it's the first time they are seeing you physically. So
maybe.
Yes, it's really good to have you join the conversation. Now, I'd wanted to start from there, but you've already started on the compromised trajectory. So let's get right into it. This Affirmative Action Bill has been with us for so long, it's even, should I say, shameful?
It is shameful.
But finally, we've got to the point where the president has put pen to paper. What for you does this mean in that, or on that road, that trajectory of seeking equality and even equity for women? Let's start from
Before I get there, I would like to thank the president and the current Minister for Gender, the technical committee, the Women's Coalition. 31st December, Mrs. Kunedu, she started the fight. Yes.
Nana Kunedu
Ajimai-Rawlings. And all the trailblazers who have worked on this for it to become law, to be an act today. I really want to appreciate all of them. And former ministers of gender and what have you, everybody has worked on it to a certain extent. I really want to say a big thank you. It is a landmark. It is a joyous and momentous. Actually, we have just hit history, and we are about to make history with the assent. Now that the affirmative action has been made law, we are going to make history. It's giving women the opportunity and the people of Ghana to understand that women also matter and that women's rights are human rights.
Do you think this has not been the position in the past with some bottlenecks? Do you think that has not been the position? I mean, I'm sitting here, and even from school, way back in school, even before that, I was in my own little way, in my microcosm, pushing for things. I always point to some group I was in where women I sat down and I had been president of the group, and I wanted to take a look down the road. They couldn't trace the last time a woman had been president of that group. I pushed and pushed someone till the person did become, I mean, legitimately. But I'm saying that hasn't not always been there. Will it take this, and will it make any difference? How significant is this from that standpoint?
Yeah, it will make a difference. Even though we have the Constitution that says that we are all equal before the law and all of that, and we have not implemented. This is specific to the rights of women in terms of gender equality and equity. And by making it law, that means there has to be enforcement.
Okay.
And if you don't enforce it or you go against it, then there are some consequences attached to it. And so in addressing the injustices against women, this law seeks to right all the wrongs. And if we implement it properly, it will happen. I want to see a Ghana where my daughter will not be talking about the injustices and my grandchildren who are female would feel that they are at parity with their counterparts who are males. That yes, it's talking about progressive. And so there must be a national consensus on all of this for all of us to agree that, look, Ghana has to accept that the issues of women are a national issue. And that when you have equity and equality and fairness for all in the society, then the society will progress. And we can build a better Ghana when we are all equal and there are equal opportunities. That is very key to this act.
When you look at the bill as assented to by the president, what is the most exciting aspect of it for you? I know you've been through the mill and you've taken a look at the bill. What excites you the most about the contents of this bill? I'm looking at the various, different parts of it. I mean, gender equity in Parliament, which some people have spoken of ad infinitum, in the judiciary, in the security services, in the public service. I mean, so many things. Allowances, equal pay for equal work. What excites you the most about this law?
One is the timelines.
Timeline?
Yes, that by 2026, we should get to 30%.
But looking at when we are assenting to it, how realistic
I will get there. By 2028, we should get 35%. By 2030, when the world is also going to respond to the SDGs, we must get to parity. That is in 6 years. Look at how far we have come and how little we have accomplished.
Exactly.
And yet, it's speeding it up that in 6 years, by 2026, we should hit 30%. That means we must be serious. That is what excites. It's a challenge for all of us to put in the structures and what will help us to achieve that 30%. To put in all the effort, the commitment, the sacrifices to achieve the 35% by 2028, so that by 2030, we will be part of making history when we go out there in the global world to talk about how we have handled gender equity and the gender equality. The other thing that excites me is the gender committee. There is a committee that is supposed to be set up to monitor the implementation of the act. All of this has been political talk and then the correctness of what we should do, making sure that the right things are done. But it is the implementation that will hit our commitment to realizing, to actualizing what we have put on paper. Talk cannot be cheap in this case. We have to put our money where our mouths are. And in it, there must be budgets from the Ministry of Finance and responsive budgeting to gender.
And you know that is where the devil always is. So you're talking about Section 4, which talks about establishment of the Gender Equity Committee.
Yes.
And then talks about the Gender Equity Committee consisting of, it goes on to mention, I know the NCC has a representative.
All
the ministry, so the chairperson is supposed to be a representative of the ministry, not below the rank of a director. It goes on and on. But you talk about funding, and of course the finance ministry will also come in. That is usually where the devil is. Typical example, the office of the special prosecutor. I mean, we can have all these fine institutions.
Yeah, that's why I talk about
funding derails them.
Yes.
Do you think this committee will actually have the wherewithal to thrive? Not just survive, thrive?
It will depend on the type of people who are selected, and it gives you the category of persons to be selected. And so the Minister for Gender and her team will have to be very, very serious about who they bring on board to be members of the committee so that they can have a plan of action for implementation. The plan of action, the strategy, is what will ensure the success, and then following it through and ensuring that the budgets of not only the Ministry of Finance, but all the public sector organizations. Currently, when there is a budget, every ministry has a budget for gender issues, but they always use it for item 13 or for things that they didn't budget for, emergency things. So they just go and take what was meant for gender and utilize it. Because, we've been belittling issues of women, and we've always put women at the last, like children and persons with disability. But this is saying that we must stop that. We must ensure, and then the committee will monitor to ensure that these things are being done. The monitoring, there must be a monitoring strategy as well. Because you know Ghana has a lot of laws, but the enforcement is not well done because there probably wasn't a monitoring strategy. Or if there was, it's not being followed. But now, this is a new dawn. And Ghana has no time, 6 years. Before you know it, look, it was January, we are going to Christmas. I was 2 years some time ago. Today I'm 62.
And I think we're even more behind because now we've got to another electoral cycle. Anything we're talking about, for example, bringing some parity in Parliament will not happen because we're already at the dawn of another election. That will mean we have to wait till after the next general elections are nigh. Of course, policies can be shaped before
we'll
then.
Start from
but what it means is that we'll not see anything in the immediate term,
not this year.
owing to how this has happened. The only time we can really see it would be in the next election, even if you're focusing there alone. I think in terms of the judiciary, it hasn't been bad at all. I mean, how many of the past 4 Chief Justices have not been? You have
Madam
Theodora Wood,
exactly, and the current lady.
Exactly.
3 of them. But I don't want to talk about the isolation.
Sofia Akufo.
Yes. It looks like it's breaking news when a woman is put in such a position.
I don't think necessarily, but all I'm trying to say is in the judiciary, that glass ceiling has been broken. It was broken a long time ago.
It has been cracked.
Even in Parliament, Justice Akufo-Addo, also there. In fact, from the Ghana Police Service, and then Parliament and some of these happenings there. There has been some semblance, scintilla of it, with some institutions faring better than others. I feel the judiciary has fared better than the other arms of government.
A little bit, yes, I agree.
But there's still more work to be done. But when you look at the law in its current form, are there any shortfalls still? Because now, Mr. President has given us assent to it, but are there still any loopholes that you would have wanted us to plug even before we got to this point?
No law is perfect. And this was watered down.
So let me say glaring loophole.
This was watered down for national consensus to converge on it. The glaring loophole is the lack of the bite, like quotas. It's giving the political parties a choice. Educate them in your safe constituencies, give roles to women. The EC should ensure that there's gender equity and all of that. But in some other dispensations like Rwanda, there is a quota system where specific seats are specific to gender. Only women or only the youth or only persons with disability can vote or be voted for or contest. And those areas ensure that immediately X number of women or youth or persons with disability will be in Parliament. And so for me, that is a weakness of it. And the fact that it is progressive, that means it will take time. However, they've put a ceiling that by 2030, we should be able to meet these things. And that means, that's what I said, we have to be serious and act with a lot of commitment and sacrifice. And to ensure that the structures in terms of like the private sector, the public sector, where women work, they must be friendly to a woman who has just come back from maternity leave. So those structures must be better organized and put in place to ensure that this is done. But is it compulsory that every organization must have a creche? I don't see it in it. But if you have a creche, and I live in, let's say, Tema, and working at the ministries, I can bring my child there, and I feel good about it. Some organizations feel that, oh, we shouldn't employ women because they will get pregnant. Master, if some woman didn't get pregnant, will you be there to even have an organization? So, if you don't want the things that occur, the negatives, when a woman gets pregnant, I don't think it's a negative. It's a blessing to have a child. Then you must have a creche. And the promotional things that happen for women must not be curtailed because the person is a woman. Just because you are a woman, you should not be belittled, or your promotion or your advancement should not be handled differently or truncated to your disadvantage.
I agree with you, especially on the point of having areas where when women, even when they are pregnant, at some point they can go and just relax for a bit before they return to their work.
The 3 months leave.
And you go to other jurisdictions, they even have paternity leave.
Yes.
But here's something I'm sure you know, or I don't know whether it will come as a shock to you. I've interacted with some women in top corporations, even firms. And it is women who also perpetrate that. Women will say, I don't want a woman for this role or these positions because she's likely to get pregnant. And women, not men, women.
Yes.
I don't know whether you encounter that.
I've encountered a lot of opposition.
I've been very surprised by some of
when I was a women's organizer.
When you blame, you should also blame women.
When I was a women's organizer, I was looking for like the safe seats, ensuring that we dedicate some safe seats to women. Some people, including women, went on demonstration against me for proposing that. That is because they have not understood enough what we expect from them. You know, that is why this bill, part of it too, is the education in terms of the implementation, to sensitize and have a different mindset. The way that we've been governing in Ghana will change if we implement this act properly.
Okay. When you look at Section 20, from one, it talks about the political parties and representation of women, what they should do. But when you get to 4, it's interesting. The Electoral Commission shall ensure that a political party in respect of A, positions at the national, regional, and district levels of the party, B, the membership of subcommittees of a political party, and C, election as parliamentary candidates of the party progressively attains gender equity and assignments available. It goes on and on. That was exactly what you were talking about. Progressively ensures or attains gender equity. The EC to ensure this for the political parties. That aspect of it got me scratching my head.
There are loose ends there. Yeah, because really, the EC cannot dictate to any party.
I found that portion very curious.
But what it can do, and in other dispensations they do, is to say that when you are presenting your candidates, like the presidential, then you must have gender equity in the parliamentary. You understand? So in some dispensations, it is part of the law. But like I said, this particular bill, the bite is not there because we needed to have a national consensus. Some of the things, because some men have insecurities. And they are afraid that when you put women in leadership, they will take their seats.
Right.
And because we are already at 275 seats, it will be difficult for a small country like Ghana to extend.
Right.
We had the window of opportunity when we were increasing the numbers by 25 or 30 under Afarijan, and then there was I think under the other lady.
Charlotte.
Yes. That was when we should have said that those seats, and I fought for that, it was not taken, for those seats to be given to just women, persons with disability, and the youth. By now, we would have hit a larger number if we had done that. But because we didn't...
We've come far, 100 and something. And
but Master, out of 275, you only have 40. And during the primaries, quite a number lost. And they might still lose again during the general elections.
That's
so
true.
you move forward, and then you take some steps
And even
backwards.
among the DCs and MCs, the last time Mr. President was acting, some people feel aggrieved that. I always say that, well, there must be the case of, is the person doing the work? That is there. Yeah. But of course, some also said that there are very few women in the first place, and you are still sucking some of some of the women.
Okay, there are few women in terms of representation.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. But and of the few, some have also received the sack. But when you look at this entire setup, which brings me to my next one, there have been quite a number of obstacles. You've weathered the storm. At the grassroots, how will this impact women? Because we can sit here in the studio and talk about it and maybe equal pay for equal work and all of that. But at the very grassroots, how will this impact women?
There's a lot of work to be done there. And the media will have to come in so that in the different languages, we can send the sensitization down. Because currently, the sensitization is only up amongst those who can read, who are educated, who are in Accra, and that sort of thing. But the women in the rural parts of Ghana don't have that. And for me, that is critical, because they are the masses. For them to understand what this Affirmative Action Act should become a Bible for all of us. To understand it, to know it. You know, when we were doing Let Your Girl Child Go to School, that type of sensitization, so that everybody, even the leaves and the birds, are singing it about gender equality, gender equity. Let's respect each other. Let's ensure that every girl child is in school and that leadership is for all of us. We must keep drumming it in and drumming it in at the local level, and that will come in the implementation plan, where all NCC, information services, the media, the traditional rulers, everybody will be involved. This is a collective act of audacity to bring hope to Ghana. The development of the woman, the success of the woman, the involvement of the woman in leadership is what is going to change Ghana. And it will affect our governance, because you will have more women in all the positions, whether it is the, how do you call it, Council of, the traditional council, National Council, House of Chiefs, whether it's the committee, the larger one for the government, the ones that watch over, what's the name of it? The man from Ejisu is the leader, the chief.
Is it not the National House of Chiefs?
Yeah, no, beyond the National House, the one for the whole government, the country. Those who advise the government.
Council of State. Is
yes,
that what you're
Council of State.
Right.
All those bodies are to be equitable. There should be parity. They should
so there as well. But you know, they vote on a regional basis. So
they should prepare the women. And nobody should belittle women and say that they are not there. That type of information, you know, it really makes me cringe. And it defeats the purpose of a bill like this. The women are more than the men. How can you say they are not there? And look, the men have been trying and they are not succeeding. We need to get the women out of the kitchen. Being women who are there just at the whims and caprices of children and husbands. And my child's education. And my husband wants to be a manager. Every day is my child, my husband. How about what I, the woman, also wants? Your mother had dreams. She was born with a vision. But she would spend all her life going after you, your homework, making sure that you are okay. But nobody makes sure that the woman is okay. The implementation of this bill is to make sure that the woman too is okay and capable to be an equal partner of development.
On that point of capacity or capability, you said something earlier. It's good you've reminded me, because I wanted to go there. Before Obama got the nod from the Democrats and became president, he had to go toe-to-toe with Hillary Clinton. At least they had got to that level. Now we have Kamala Harris, who, though, again, through some initiative, interesting initiative, Joe Biden steps aside and says, Kamala, go. And she is a potential president of the United States. Should we get to the point where maybe even writing on some of the pointers in this law say that if you are fielding a presidential candidate, it's either the presidential candidate is female, or if the candidate is male, the running mate maybe should be female. Because if you look at even this election we're going into, it's predominantly male.
Yes.
Should we get to that point?
Well, I'm very excited about what's happening in America. And I'm hoping that it will happen in Ghana too, sooner than later. Whatever will give us the chance for women to come into leadership is good. It doesn't matter how we get there. It's how we manage how we get there, for me. That is important.
Okay.
And so whether you are riding on this coat or that coat, look, we must break down the glass ceiling. It's not just the crack, break it down and break down the doors and make sure that if the seat is not there, you take your own seat. You bring up our girls and our sons to understand that we are equal, not that the boy, there's such a male-dominant society. We must change that attitude. It's an archaic way. The world is changing and Ghana must wake up to that.
I think something you'd be happy
that we are
about,
all
though,
equal.
As far as affirmative action or reverse discrimination is concerned, you know, our schools back then, affirmative action took over a long time ago in especially the tertiary institutions, and now in most of them that you go to, there are more females,
definitely, yes,
actually than males. So I'm sure that's something you definitely.
Oh yes, I've been told that even at the basic and even now the secondary is also getting to that point of parity. And we had to do a lot of adjustments, especially at the tertiary level, to ensure it. At the basic, there was a whole push for sending your girl child to school, sometimes at the tertiary level, reducing the grades for the women and all of that, the young girls. So it's all good. And the girls and the boys must take advantage of this. That, look, this is our time to shape this generation for the future, to ensure that Ghana is a gender equitable society where your daughter, your mom, your wife, not just about somebody else's wife, but all the wives and daughters have equal treatment. Don't think that if you treat somebody's wife badly, somebody will treat your wife better. We must all be treated equally, no discrimination. And we must ensure that when we come to the table, the women are not behind. They sit in front with the men. And the women must feel confident. So we must train our daughters to believe in themselves, that I am okay. This notion that if you are a woman, you are weak, you are not good, you are not capable, you are stupid, belittling women, must stop. Is your mother stupid? Is your mother stupid? I'm asking you a personal question.
I don't think that's even a question to answer.
But that is what is happening. Why would you treat somebody else's wife or mother as if they are stupid? Why wouldn't you involve them? Why would you, just a minute, why would you even be violent against a woman? This bill addresses it. Violence against women is violence against Ghana.
Okay,
there is a constitution that says that we shouldn't do that, and the law must be enforced.
Before we get into the private sector, because it appears, I mean, we've spoken a lot and it feeds into the public sector. Definitely. How about the private sector? Some portion of the law talks about private sector companies and even tax incentives they will get if they do X, Y, and Z. But before we get there, I've seen a message from the PRO, the spokesperson of the Education Ministry, Kwesi Kwarteng. He says, Ghana has attained gender parity at the senior high level. That's what he shared. And of course, he's watching the conversation now. Yeah. Kwesi, good morning.
So that means all the three levels are now okay.
Yes, I mean, what I did know of was tertiary. Tertiary in most places.
Oh, yeah. And
most of the institutions
the basic,
have.
And so at all the three levels, we are okay. But it's still not enough. The books that we use in the educational sector, especially the primary school, Kofi Niyama, Ama is always sweeping and fetching water. What is that? What is that? Why can't Kofi also fetch water?
Representations as well.
In the pictorial things, the stories must show the new woman, the girl that we are bringing up, your daughter and mine, that in this Ghana, she can not only be the girl's prefect, she can be the school prefect. She can play with a computer. Kofi should be seen sweeping, and daddy must set a good example in the home. The home and the school are where early socialization starts. And that is important for the implementation of this bill. That in the home and in the schools, the structures that shape the minds of our young people must also include pictures and role models that the girls can see. If I can see myself somewhere, I'll be interested in also trying to be aspiring to that role.
Indeed.
But if every day, mommy is sweeping, Kosia too is sweeping, so I'm going to end up as a cleaner. That's why Ghana is so dirty. We can have women in leadership who will clean up because we're very good at cleaning the home.
I mean, there are myriad examples of that. Coco Golf, who nowadays...
the tennis,
walks tennis and does a whole lot. She grew up watching Serena Williams and all of that. So and you know, Serena is probably the first black woman who, in that space, really turned heads. Imagine if Serena hadn't done it. Maybe not too many black young girls would be thinking, I can also be at the summit.
You hit it on the nail. Yes,
tennis.
I agree with you.
But let's talk about, like I said, the private sector. Because there too, there's a lot. A few years ago, even the BBC had its own challenges with equal pay for equal work and a whole lot. The systems are still improving. Is this law fit for purpose as far as private enterprise is concerned and the purported incentives they are being given? Briefly on that.
Yes. To a certain extent, yes. Because it encourages you that if you are able to increase the number of women, make sure that your organization is gender friendly, then tax waivers will be given to you. You'll be given some concessions when there are contracts and things like that. And so that should encourage. But the monitoring must come in to ensure that this is done. We must have data that right now, where we are, the baseline, this is what we have. so that you can measure. The measuring is also continuous. And Parliament must also have that accountability, so that when people or these organizations are not meeting the indicators, then they can be whipped into line. And then there must be enforcement. If we are saying that there should be crashes and that women who are going on maternity leave, their promotions should not be affected, you should know how many women who are in that category. And if they are not promoted, why have they not been promoted? And the TUC also has a role. The Ministry of Employment and Labor also has a role in it to check all these things, to ensure that we are going to make history. It's not about just talking. You must put your money where your mouth is. You must be serious about this change that we are seeking. And when the private sector owns it and the public sector owns it, why wouldn't we meet those targets that we are saying we need to meet by that time? But somebody must be checking, and that is the Gender Equity Committee, to check and ensure that these things work. And then, even in the buildings, I know that with Ministry of Defense, some of the army places, like I don't know whether they've changed it, the Tamale Airport, for instance, there was a part of it where the washrooms are designed, both men and women have to use the washrooms at the military base. But you know, a woman can have her menstruation and all of that. She needs some privacy. The same thing with the schools. So those things must be put in the private sector. Sometimes, because of funding issues, they are not able to put in all the mechanisms that are friendly for the development of gender equity. But we must be able to support them to do that and encourage them to do it. And if you are able to put those things in place, then you can look at the punitive measures. But if you don't support them to achieve it, it will not happen. That is why I say this is national consensus, a collective action by everybody, boys and girls, men and women, traditional rulers, the media, the private sector, public, everybody, including political will. Political will has been brought to bear with the parliamentarians passing it, and then the president assenting it. Now, it is left with the rest of us. And men and women and boys and girls respecting each other and understanding that we all have red blood. My sex does not make me weaker or I'm less of a human being than you are. You don't have to eat better than me. And you shouldn't be using, I married you, so you are doing me a favor. We are doing each other a favor. I'm giving you chop money, so you have to kowtow to me. But the work I am doing in the house, are you paying me for it? There's unpaid work. I'm bringing your children, our children up.
Before we go, just one question in two parts. Are there any foreseeable challenges, in the near future as far as rolling this out is concerned? And as former gender minister, I just want you to box them together in about a minute and a half, because our time is actually up.
It will be difficult to do it in a minute and a half.
What advice would you give government in terms of rolling this out even from today, from now?
All right, let's take the challenges first. The mindset of the people. We are a parochial society, male-dominant society. And that has been pushed into our heads for so long. That idea that the man is the head, the man is the leader, the man is the best, the man is everything. That must change. That is a huge challenge. And it will take a lot of sensitization to change it. And government and all the government institutions and the media must work on that to change our mindsets, that it is okay for a woman to be a leader, and that a woman too is just as equal as a man, and that the man is not better because of his testosterone. A woman is just as good as a man, given equal opportunities.
Right.
That is the biggest challenge. The other part of it is, like you said, the rural people, getting the message down, so that it's not only in Accra and the cities and people who can read, but everywhere. People must understand it. And then the resources, making sure that your institution like this is friendly, and that you are able to put in the structures for women who are coming back from maternity leave and all of that. And the area of health, to ensure that maternal mortality is reduced, and anemia and all, even this issue of about sanitary towels.
Right.
Removing the tax and making sure that we make them in Ghana, which will make it more affordable, and making sure that in the schools, girls have changing rooms and what have you.
Right.
Within, stop looking at your watch, within the sphere, because I was told that I had 45 minutes, within the sphere of the government. And issues of women should not be rushed, please. This is part of my problem with this country, and you're doing it to me. The issues of politics are not...
Have you checked the time?
Yes, I checked it. We didn't start at 9. We started about 10 minutes past 9, and it's now 9:41. So we have not done 45 minutes.
We're within the frame.
Until stop looking at your watch. Don't rush me. Look, we have worked hard to get to this point, and there is no going back. We, all of us, must change our attitude about issues concerning women.
Right.
It is not a walk in the park, let me tell you. The government has come this far by assenting it, making sure that Parliament too has passed it and all of that. But the government, the political will to ensure that the different pieces, the sectors, are also working, like appointments, for example. You know that the president has the 30% appointments for assemblies. Why can't that 30% be given to just women, youth, and persons with disability? Because already, you know, it's less, what we have in the assemblies is less than 6%.
Right.
So the president in his appointment, and I'm making this a direct appeal to the president, that next time he's appointing, how do you call it, assembly members, that 30% should just be given to women, the youth, and persons with disability.
Okay.
And other government appointees like the MMDCs, DCs, whatever appointments that are being made in the public sector, equity must come in.
Okay.
And nobody must say that there are no women available.
All right.
That is what the government, and then the budget.
Otiko.
The budget must also include gender-responsive budgeting and ensure, the Ministry of Finance must ensure that whatever amount each ministry or each public sector office is saying that they are going to put there for gender, they should put it there.
All right.
The last thing I want to say is that
Otiko Djaba.
the girl child, I want her to dream that she is the best thing that ever happened to Ghana, and that she has an equal right to be a leader, to help this country to develop, to achieve greatness. That girl child today must be well educated and prepared for tomorrow. Let no man go and impregnate her. And let no girl let some man or boy impregnate you. Because you are special. You are a queen. You are a princess. You must have values and integrity. And you must understand that without you, there will be no Ghana. Every boy or girl born in this country was born by some woman. And we are preparing these women for that responsibility.
Otiko Djaba, thank you very much for your time with us this morning. She is former Minister, Gender, Children and Social Protection. Of course, we've been deliberating on the Affirmative Action Law and what it means for all of us, especially our women and our girl children. We'll be right back on the AM show. There's still one last belt to go, and then we can call it another installment of the show. We'll be right back.